Dad,
Yeah.
where are you? Are you coming home?
Anyway, what's going on, guys? This is Garrett and Lincoln from RUNAMUCK MMA, and today we are coming at you with our main card coverage of UFC Fight Night Teixeira versus Thiago Santos. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. And yeah, this should be a pretty quick video for us. We had Claudia Gadelha versus Yan Xiaonan. Yan Xiaonan pretty much from start to finish just kind of neutralized. Well, I wouldn't say from start to finish, but in rounds 2 and 3 was able to neutralize the black belt in Gadelha, pretty much neutralize all her takedowns and grappling exchanges and whatnot, and was able to put the clinic on her striking wise. The high kicks, the jabs, the combos, pretty much everything that was necessary to be able to edge her out in this decision victory. Not to mention the fact that she did wobble Gadelha a couple of times. Gadelha, I think, in those latter rounds, just didn't really have anything to offer.
It was just superior striking
all
around by Jan.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful. Stuffed 8 takedowns, I believe. Is that what it says? 2 out of 10. Yeah, so 8 takedowns. Really just showed what it is to stay on your feet and not let the black belt in jiu-jitsu even come in.
Yeah. That's
or try your best not to, at least.
I really like how Yan Xiaonan, that I don't feel like it's talked about enough, has been undefeated for like a decade.
Yeah, and has like the highest striking percentage.
It's crazy.
Like of like a lot of fighters. She's like the third of like all fighters, not just in her weight division and not just women.
Yeah, and she will now most likely be in the top 5
where she deserves to be.
Yeah, of the strawweight rankings, meaning that she very likely in 2021, if she's lucky, could potentially put herself in a #1 contender status.
Or, if everything works out, for sure.
Yeah, or could put her in a position to maybe potentially fight for the title in a year or two, which would be quite a monumentous moment in UFC strawweight history for Yan Xiaonan to be able to fight her fellow countrywoman, Zhang Weili. So that'd be pretty cool.
It'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah. So then we move on to Giga Chikade. I'm so sorry.
It's Chikade.
Versus Jamie Simmons.
You can pronounce that one though.
Fuck off.
Dude, what a perfect
Lincoln's
setup.
Like, oh, you could pronounce that right. What are you trying to say, Garrett? You can't fucking pronounce Chika, right? And I'm just like, oh man, fuck me, right? I'm so sorry.
But the perfect setup, but with a body kick to the head kick.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Right on the bopper, bopped him right on the forehead.
Yeah, and
immediately highlight real stuff.
Yeah, the only thing about Jamie Simmons that he really brought that was better than Jiga was his nickname, Afro Samurai, which is a really good anime that people should watch.
Are you really plugging Afro Samurai right now?
Yeah, I really am.
Like, you know a guy who knows a guy?
Yeah, I wish. So yeah, but Jamie Simmons, I think that he was again a last minute opponent. Chikade really wanted to just get in the octagon for another time. He still, even after this victory, wants to try and fight again in December.
All power to these guys who are just tearing it up, going 4-0, 3-0, 3-1. Like, there's some guys that just are wanting to fight this year.
Yeah, and this is definitely the year to do it. And yeah, but he basically just outclassed Simmons the entire time. I forget who it was he was originally scheduled to fight, but I think he's now calling out Jeremy Stephens. He wants to fight Jeremy Stephens in December if Jeremy Stephens takes the fight and if the UFC allows it and clears it and gets it going. But yeah, and this is another thing I wanted to bring up because I couldn't stop thinking about this during the fight. Jamie Simmons' hair.
The Afro Samurai.
I don't understand why some fighters wouldn't want to do something more permanent with their hair that's like that. Like some fighters that have really long or poofy hair will put it in cornrows.
Yeah, like Street Jesus
Yeah, like they'll do
or
something
Uriah
with all
Hall.
that. Exactly. They'll put it up. They'll do something with it.
Meanwhile, guys like Simmons and Benson Henderson just loose ponytails.
Yeah, and to me, I almost feel like it's a distraction during the fight because you
It
can
really
definitely,
is.
especially when
That's
it
how you get
gets.
popped on the forehead.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like because if you rewatch the sequence where Jamie Simmons gets KO'd, the body kick comes in, then he goes to wipe, his hair out of his head, out of his face, and then he gets KO'd immediately
Do you know
after
who
that.
the worst one was about it?
What?
Clay Guida.
Oh fuck
He just
me.
had hair always in his eyes, and it always had blood in it too.
I know. I mean that's the thing. Like when you have blood, you can wipe that shit away.
Yeah.
But if you have hair, you wipe it away and it'll immediately just come right back.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. Like you're doing something
Beautiful.
else with your hands. Thanks. Like you're doing something else. like you're doing something else with your hands when you should be defending. And I know some people don't necessarily agree with me on that statement, but that's the same argument I made with Benavidez versus Figueiredo 1, where Benavidez was wiping his head from the blood, and it's immediately after he wipes his forehead with his hand does he get KO'd.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that right there is what was one of the key things that led to that KO.
Wow, you just hate Benavidez.
I don't know. I was hugely in support of Benavidez going into that fight. But that's one of those things where I'm like, if you do something, if you wipe your forehead at all, I feel like it's a huge distraction to you as a fighter. And I know, I'm sorry.
Or like blow your nose or something.
Yeah.
Like anything could just cause a distraction. I got you. I know what you're saying. I was just playing with you.
Also there's another fight on the main card that I think got scrapped. Brandon Allen. I'm sorry, I can't. He was on the pre-show, and I was watching that, and they were doing the pre-show, and he was on there and talking about his fight, and I forget his opponent's name. But yeah, that fight ended up getting scrapped. I bet if I look at the UFC homepage, it'll still be there, like it actually happened.
Yeah, and they'll have a fake winner
because they don't ever they don't ever update their page.
Tisk.
Yeah, for real. See, because they still have Makachev. Excuse me, I'm sorry. No, it looks like they updated it. I'll give them that.
Now
I'll give them that. Anyway, so moving on. But yeah, they called that fight off like right after the pre-show. So that was like as soon as the not main event, but as soon as the whole card that the prelim started, it was called off. But anyway, so then we have you're gonna have to help me with this. Barcelos versus Khalid Taha.
You're good.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is that Rayoni or Haoni?
I think it's Rayoni.
Anyway, just call him Barcelos. And Barcelos pretty much just full gap dominated Taha.
Just good numbers everywhere you look on his side.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not a bad thing that you could say about
That's what we call a unanimous decision right there.
Yeah. I will say that the biggest takeaway I had from this is that I feel really bad for Taha. Because can you imagine spending 10 weeks of your life in a training camp, training your ass off for a fight that you almost completely from start to finish get dominated in?
And have to go through all the testing of COVID stuff and being isolated and all that, and then all of a sudden you're just getting wrecked for 3 rounds.
Yeah, and just put on one of the biggest stages in the world.
It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like wow. I mean, that goes to show you how great Barcelos is.
For sure.
But and Taha was not.
I mean, 16-1 is a good record, dude.
And Taha was able to go the distance.
Yeah, didn't get knocked down, didn't tap to the submission attempt, got hit 120 something times.
Yeah, like he was
second in there.
Yeah, he was in the fight. He was trying to stay.
He just didn't have much to give.
Yeah, it just came down to Barcelos being the better fighter.
For sure.
So then we have the UFC legend, honestly, possibly future Hall of Famer, and Andrei Arlovsky.
Oh yeah, for sure. Heavyweight champion for a while.
Yeah, versus Tanner Boser, the Bulldozer. So we had the Bulldozer versus the Pitbull. What do you think about this?
So it's interesting. It's kind of like everything that Anderson Silva wishes comeback could have been. Because like Andrei Arlovsky was starting to get known as the guy who's been around for too long and getting knocked out all the time.
Yeah.
And now he's been on a kind of a tear, but this decision is kind of wonky.
Yeah, because if you look at the numbers, Tanner Boser definitely had the advantage in numbers.
It's like his name carried some weight that Tanner Boser's name didn't.
Well, the one thing that I do have to say is you look at the effectiveness of Andre.
Of course, you have to.
I think it came down to Andre having more power. I think it's pretty like whenever he hit Tanner Boser, I think this is what the judges saw. This is me defending this decision. Every time,
that's why I said it's kind of wonky. Like it's not completely wonky. It's just kind of
right. Like every time Andrei Arlovsky would hit Tanner Boser, it hurt. Like
you got a reaction.
Yeah. Whenever Tanner Boser hit Arlovsky, I mean, like he just kind of like
just hit like a teddy bear.
Yeah, which is very impressive. Very impressive especially after all that stuff you said about Andrei Arlovsky being the guy that gets knocked out.
He started to get that reputation for a while.
Yeah.
Like it was a good few fights in a row that he was just getting knocked out.
Yeah. And now he is, I believe he's 3-1 in his last fight, in his last 4 fights, with this being his most recent victory. So he beat Felipe Lins, lost to Rosenstrike, and beat Ben Rothwell. Yeah. So in his last 4 fights, he is 3-1. So that's kind of good for him.
Yeah, he's coming back a little bit, but they're all decisions. So
yeah, that's true too. Especially
it's not really like Glover who's coming back 5 submission victories in a row.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I think it's like interesting because there was at one point where Andre hit Boser and Boser just kind of like went flying across the octagon.
Kind of makes it a little bit harder to not give it to him.
Yeah, because it's like if you were to put these guys in an actual like. I know judges don't think about it like
always
this.
Go into a street fight.
Yeah, but that's if they were in an actual street fight, and you had Tanner Boser kind of just throwing his strikes at Andre and they weren't affecting him, and Andre fucking punches him as hard as he punches him.
I feel like it's concrete.
And that was another thing is like if Andre had just if he had just chased after Boser a little bit, he would hit the guy and the guy would go flying, but then Andre would just kind of let up on him.
Yeah. And I was like, I think it's also because he's kind of timid, like he doesn't want to chase him because that's usually whenever he got caught.
Yeah, I think that's there's no such thing as a truer statement than that.
I believe so because he's been going for more decisions. Like he'll go for a knockout, but it's also like he won't rush in anymore.
Right.
Because like if you look up a compilation of Andrei Arlovsky getting knocked out, it's all because he rushed in. I mean, like every time he's winning too, for the most part.
Experience will do that, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway,
moving
like you
on
said,
to the main event.
Yep, here it is. The main event of UFC Fight Night Santos versus Teixeira. We have Thiago Santos, who's making his octagon return after a year layoff from his 2019 bout with John Jones. His title fight actually with John Jones, which he unfortunately lost in a very, very close split decision. We talked about that in our GOAT discussion video. Link in the description. And now Glover Teixeira is fighting for what is basically a title challenger eliminator after his very, very one-sided victory over Anthony Smith. So Lincoln, what was going through your mind going into this fight? Like who was your favorite going into this fight?
I had Santos winning in the earlier rounds, but if it went farther, like how it ended up going into round 3 and 4, I had Glover getting its submission because that's usually what happens if Glover doesn't get TKO'd early on. Is you just have to take the old man out or he's going to come for your neck.
Right.
So this is kind of how I figured it would go if it did go this long.
Right. For me, I was Teixeira all the way. Just because I don't know, dude. Like there was something about it. Like
I had that suspicion. I just thought that it was possible that Santos could hit a real good heavy shot early.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Santos. Anytime they were standing up on the feet, Santos almost put Teixeira away, especially when the third round opened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Santos was just when that
going for it
in that third round, man. That was such a back and forth. That was literally Santos beating the shit out of Teixeira. Teixeira falling. I swear to God, the referee was so close to calling it, but he fought and he pulled him Santos in. I mean, Santos was on top of him, ground and pounding, and then Teixeira was able to use that black belt of his to good use and totally turn the tables on Santos. Get on top of him, ground and pound him, loosen him up, and just sink in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rear naked choke and put Santos away.
Yeah, I saw the funniest meme where it was like, how does Glover Teixeira win fights, and it's just him on his back from getting knocked down the first time.
Yeah, I mean that's a good. I mean, I know that's funny, but I mean, like, it's true. It's true. That's often how Teixeira does do things. He'll get beat up. God, the fight with Ryan Bader comes to mind when Ryan Bader had Teixeira. Yeah, he has him wobbled up against the fence. He's beating the Chev, and like you said, just hits him. Teixeira fires back with 2 shots, puts Bader down. You know, I mean, Teixeira knows how to take damage and survive.
And he knows, it's like he knows how to like shift the energy of momentum in his favor when he's like kind of wobbling.
Yeah. It's weird how that works, and we kind of knew the grappling was going to be a big deal going into this, just because Santos just doesn't have as much experience with it.
It's hard to match Glover's experience.
I know, God, being 41 years old, black belt in jiu-jitsu, having as many fights as he's had, almost 40 fights.
And as many submission victories as he's had.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, he's also has his fair share of knockout victories.
Of course.
too. I mean, the guy's just been around for a long time. He's got accumulated a lot of experience.
Give me Jan versus Teixeira.
I'd be down, dude. I really hope that, and that is something I want to talk about too, while we're on the subject, is we have Glover Teixeira, who is ready to fight Jan Blachowicz, but I know that there are the talks of Israel Adesanya moving up to light heavyweight to challenge Jan Blachowicz for the title, for the light heavyweight title, and that's probably I've heard that's gonna happen in March of 2021.
But how awesome would it be if by some miracle it ended up being Teixeira versus Adesanya?
I would like it. Because stylistically,
I think that's a very interesting fight.
Yeah, I think stylistically, that's probably the hardest fight Israel Adesanya could ever ask for.
Exactly, which is why I think he should have it.
Yeah, but we'll see. I really hope that just something happens, because I don't know. I don't know if I want to see. I just want to see what we were told was going to happen. I want to see Adesanya fight Robert Whittaker. Again, I want to see John Jones go up to heavyweight. I want Jan to fight Teixeira.
Exactly. It all works out.
And I want that to just be how it is. I know that's probably not how it's going to end up working out, but I hope that's what happens. Because Teixeira is now the number 1 contender. He beat the number 1 contender. He is the number 1 contender. I want to see that happen.
Me as well. Because I feel like we're doing too much mega fight stuff. We need to get back to the UFC, you know?
Right. I mean, like, it just has to be.
Mega fights aren't special if they happen all the time.
No, and I just want it to be. I just want it to be how it's meant to be, because Teixeira is 41.
Like, do these rankings are the rankings a joke to you?
Exactly, right. Do we want to hold up an entire division just so Adesanya
for one pay-per-view?
Yeah, just so Adesanya can get back at John Jones? No, like I mean I don't care.
I want to see Francis knock John Jones out.
Let's see it happen, man.
Give it to me.
I want to see it. I want to see it. But yeah, so I think that's going to do it for our coverage on this.
Beautiful. I love every moment with you, and I love every moment with these fans. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Peace.